Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to East Side Rendezvous. How's everybody doing tonight?
Hey.
Awesome. So tonight, we've got a special guest with us. But before we get to that, I want to let you know that Mr. and Mrs. S&P, Stacking and Prepping, are not going to be able to join us tonight. They apologize for not being here, but they had something else come up. So I want everybody to know they'll be back next week. They just couldn't make it for this week. So in the meantime, though, we have a very special guest. We have Seduced by Silver with us tonight. Hey, Seduced, how you doing?
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for having me on tonight.
It's really great to have you join us. We're really excited about you spending some time with us.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead and say hi to a few people in the chat with us. We've got, let's go back up top. I know Alex was here first. He was here pretty early. Alex Coinrow Hunter. Hopefully he's still hanging around. Hello, Alex. And Samantha Gilson came in pretty early. Samantha, how you doing tonight? The Stacking Kid. How you doing? And hey, Seduced by Silver's here in the chat. Hey, Seduced.
Hey, look, we're talking bullion.
Then we have the UK channel, Matthew. Hello there. Bradley Height.
Silver Leprechaun.
Silver Leprechaun. How you doing, Silver Leprechaun? And then Value Hunter.
And we got Todd Miller and Kendall Kidd, Full Push Metals. Hey, guys.
Wow, thanks everybody for joining us tonight.
Big Bank, Little Bank has joined us.
Cool.
So we appreciate everybody coming in and spending a little bit of time with us. And Silver Leprechaun says he got the Mr. Zeke bar today. Awesome. That was the one that we gave away during our Christmas special that Stacking and Prepping gave away. That was a pretty cool bar there. So glad you finally got it. That's awesome.
Very nice.
Kendall, you're funny.
Yeah, Kendall. We know.
Hey, Mr. Terry Nichols joined us.
Kendall must be talking about Mrs. Talking Bullion. She's here today. That's what he's talking about. Yeah.
I did not get introduced, but I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, I missed you. Sorry about that. You must be introduced. I need to not sleep on the couch tonight. So Karen, hey, how's it going? Silver Badger. Yeah, we said hi to Full Push Metal. So we're going to talk about a few things tonight. We got a few things on our agenda. And we're going to start out with, getting some awesome information from Seduced by Silver. And, maybe wait another minute or two. And looks like some people are still pouring into the, pouring into the live stream, using up all the bandwidth. They're just pouring in on us. And as I say
Kendall's actually saying hi to Mrs. TV. Thank you, Kendall.
That's very nice, KK.
Hello, Jack.
And ever since I said people were pouring in, we lost a couple. Huh?
They poured out.
They poured it back out. Our cup runneth over, I guess. And ASMR people, hello there. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, Silver Saint 77. He's just lurking, though.
He's just lurking. We don't know he's there.
No.
All right.
It's been a while since I heard from Silver Saint. So glad you could join us tonight.
So what's on the agenda tonight?
Tonight we're going to talk to Seduced and get some great stacking and prepping information from her. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our gauze. Got a couple gauze tonight, giveaways. And then we're going to have a little bit of a discussion on constitutional silver. And if we have some time after that, got a couple surprises at the end. Not really surprises. I'm just trying to hold off a little bit without giving you too much information. So, hey, Yankee Stacking, how you doing tonight? Thanks for joining us. glad to have you here. That's awesome.
Yes, glad you're excited that we're having Seduced by Silver tonight on the show.
Awesome. So Seduced, why don't we go ahead and get started? It's about 5 minutes after 9, so we'll let the people continue to join us.
Okay.
Thank you again for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it. We know that time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending your time with us. So, can we just start out with maybe telling us a little bit about how you started stacking and how you got into this? I know that some of these questions we may have been through on when you are in some other live streams and things, but not everybody's heard your story. So, can you give us a little bit about how you started stacking?
Sure. So I actually am pretty new at stacking. I started in March of last year, so 10 months, and I've learned so much in this last year, or in this last 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I really started because I spent years sort of preparing all other aspects of my life for any tough times that could come ahead. Everything from financial to physical, emotional, and mental. I've prepared in those areas, but and I had begun using Dave Ramsey's 7 Baby Steps to get
Yep.
it. And
Awesome.
we disagree when it comes to precious metals, but
Right. Yep.
it's a really good system. And as soon as I started following it, I was able to sort of pull myself out of that struggle that people can tend to find themselves in. And then once I was out of debt, I started seeing money accumulate in my bank account. And I just knew I didn't want to leave it in the bank. So I just started researching how I could start investing my money. And I'd already done a little bit in real estate. So I didn't want to buy any more property. I was looking for something I could hold, which led me to precious metals, of course. And then I just started Googling silver coins, and the amount of videos that surprised me because I didn't even know it was a thing. But I just spent probably a month watching videos, like from sunup to sundown. I just wanted to know a lot about it before I made my first purchase. I didn't want to throw my money away. I didn't want to make any big mistakes. So I learned how to um, see if silver was fake. So I went out and got some earth magnets, and
Cool.
yeah. And that sort of started my journey. Just once I had felt like I'd learned enough, then I actually did my first purchase, which, as most of you know, wasn't a very intelligent choice, but I found someone online because I didn't know anything about silver gold bull, because everybody online who I was watching was talking about US dealers. And so I actually met someone in a parking lot at night for my very first purchase. But I brought my magnets. And yeah, and it turned out to be fine, and we kept in touch. I don't buy from him anymore because I get much better deals from Silver Gold Bull.
Yeah, and my wife and I, Mrs. TB, we went through the Dave Ramsey program quite a few years ago now, maybe 5-6 years ago.
Awesome.
And back then we weren't in the precious metals, but his 7 steps, you take the time to listen to them and follow them, they really do work.
Yes.
And they worked for us, and they really brought our mind around to thinking differently than how we were thinking. And so they helped us out quite a bit, especially with the credit cards and getting rid of those, and getting our emergency fund put together and all that stuff that he preaches. So yeah, that's good. So you kind of what type of silver do you like to stack? And maybe you can talk about how you started out with all that shiny, pretty premium stuff, and kind of how your attitude kind of switched a little bit on that as well.
Yeah, so I've come quite a ways in the last 10 months, because I don't know if any of you have done this, but when I first started, I felt like I was making up for lost time. So I wanted everything. I wanted one of every series. I wanted one of every country. I was really thinking about a collection. And what I've come to discover is it's not very practical. I mean, this box here was full of just single pieces that didn't really have a set, that didn't really go with anything else. And for the first few months, I loved it. I loved taking them out and playing with them. But then I started shifting the way I thought about precious metals, because I started trying to think about what would I do if I had to sell. And I started watching videos on how to sell. And I started listening to the advice of how you could, or how much you would get from a coin shop, or what kind of challenges you'd run. So what I started doing is I just started trading all those pieces that I'd bought for other things. So I either traded it for constitutional, or I sold it for money. And with that money, oh, here, I'll grab them. One sec. I just started picking up maples.
Just a couple. Yeah.
Yeah. So if nobody's tried selling pieces or bartering or trading pieces, I highly recommend it, because it was quite a learning experience. It takes a lot longer than I expected. And there's added costs like shipping and, the time, right, to mail. Everything takes 2 weeks to get to Canada, sometimes longer. So, and what I did is I let go of this idea that it had to be perfect. And that was really hard for me. I don't know, some of you have seen my videos of my barter closet. I like things being neat and tidy. Wasn't always like that. I had kids. I could never keep my house clean. But now that I don't have little kids, I like to be organized. So being able to accept that I'm going to have some silver with spots took me a few months to get used to the idea. But once I ordered my first batch of random maples, and of course, when you order them, you have to click a little disclaimer that says, I understand these may come with milk spots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And ever since I ordered the first batch, I'm completely fine with that, because I see weight adding up really quickly.
So, Seduced, can you do me a favor and just open up that chest one more time?
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's all I need to see. Thanks.
It's not the Bullion sticker.
I'm good. I can see the important thing in there.
Set up like that for you.
Yeah. Oh no, that's cool. So no, that's really awesome. So we don't see any gold on the table there, and I know you've talked a little bit about it in your video. So what's your perspective on gold? Do you buy that as well?
I do. I'm very selective when I buy it, though. I bought most of my pieces this summer when it was at its lowest. I'm very thankful for. I stick with quarter ounce. I like the size. It's more reasonable than the ounce for me. And I know if I saved up, I could, not buy for a little while and then buy an ounce. But I really do like the size of the quarter ounce. So I bought most of it when it was really at its lowest point. So it's kind of a little bit difficult for me to buy it now that it's higher. And I know I have to get over that mentality, because I want to add more to my stack. But
yeah, I was just talking about that in the video I put out yesterday about the constitutional junk silver with how spot works. I mean, being fairly new to buying it like we're buying it, the spot just kind of confuses me, because I just bought some more constitutional silver thinking I got a great deal, $1 below spot, and then I'm like, but that's more than I paid for it a month ago. How does that work? How is that working? I'm supposed to feel like I got a good deal, but I'm paying more for it.
you know what's really cool, and I don't know if he's listening, and I won't say his name for privacy, but somebody shared a really wonderful working document, an Excel spreadsheet, and some of you may have one already. I was only keeping track on paper, having to add it up, which got annoying. But the way this is set up is you can, of course, include everything you bought, what you bought it at, and then you put in the spot price, and then it so easily adds up how much over spot you are for where you're at in your stack. And it really puts it into perspective that it does make sense to buy a little continuously instead of holding on for a dip. And terrible, but I forgot the name of a gentleman who had a video about the research, or somebody had checked into that, and they found out that people who bought on a regular basis in the end actually had a lower lower ratio for what they paid on the spot than if they had waited for dips. Mm-hmm. I apologize if you're listening and I can't remember your name.
Yeah, no, that's good. So, you're talking about, just kind of, I got you sidetracked there a little bit, but you're talking about buying quarter ounces of gold, which is, that's kind of our ideal spot. I just think that, buying an ounce and having an ounce coin around is nice to have, but, in a situation where you're looking to sell it and, looking for somebody who has the free cash to buy it, that, the quarter ounces, I think, are kind of a sweet spot for, resaleability. So that's generally we buy, and we tend to buy the Canadian maple leafs as well, because of them being 9999 pure 24 karat gold. I just really like those.
Yes.
Besides, we're in Michigan, so we're used to seeing the Canadian money anyway, so It's not unusual for us to have change in our pocket just from getting going and shopping and getting some change back.
Here, I'll show you one of the oldest ones I've gotten in the random maples. Where am I?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that is nice. There's some nice toning on there too. That looks really good.
That's the 88. Yeah.
Is that the first year?
Yes.
88. Cool. Yeah, that looks really
nice. Nice detail on that leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the benefits of ordering the random maples, to get sweet things like that.
Yeah, I buy. I'm trying to collect every year of Maple Leaf, every year of the American Silver Eagle, and every year of the Libertad to have every year from North America. Basically, I thought that'd be kind of a cool collection to do. So I've got maybe 10 different Maple Leafs. I mean, I have some duplicates, but every time I go to a coin show, I try to find a different year. But I never take my list with me, so I'm like, oh, I don't think I have that year. Then I get home and I'm like, crap, I do have that year. But still a nice ounce of silver, right?
Yes.
So, okay, I'm curious about your budget, your weekly, monthly budget, and feel free to answer how you want to answer. But do you have a certain amount dedicated each month towards your stacking, or do you just kind of percentage, or do you just kind of have when so you get a little bit extra money, try to buy something? What's your approach on that?
I do have a monthly budget, but I'm not really strict with it. So I will sometimes not buy in a month, and another month I'll pick up more. I did that over the summer. I bought quite a bit in the summer because both gold and silver were down. And so I think for October and half of November, I didn't buy anything because I used up the budget I wanted to use up.
Yeah, we have a budget. We technically have a budget as well, but I'm an opportunist as well. So when I see good deals, like when I went to the coin show the other day and was able to get, constitutional silver for $1 under spot, that's a time to, kind of maybe exceed what you're planning on spending, maybe buy a little bit more, just because, really, if I wanted to, I could turn around and, eBay that stuff or probably make some money off it. The problem is once I buy it, it's really hard for me to let it go again,
Yeah. I thought it would be difficult to let pieces go, but the only pieces that will always be in my collection are my poured pieces. I'm very fond of those. And I am willing to pay a premium. One, to support people who have always been there supporting my channel, or, have really fine work that I appreciate and I know that I'm going to enjoy looking at for a really long time. I don't ever expect to get my premiums back unless, of course, something happened with silver, but they really aren't for that. They're more
Right.
for looking at and enjoying and thinking about the friends I've made on YouTube. So those won't go anywhere. And my Queen's Beast, those aren't going anywhere either.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with about the buying like channel bars and just different poured bars from the YouTube channels. Generally I don't like to pay high premiums either, but I like to support the channels, and some of them were just cool, and it's really cool to have something special like you certainly have. Plenty of them around there. So yeah, this would be a good time. Why don't you go ahead and show us what you got on your table there?
So this is a piece that Menehune designed for me. Or I think he made a couple coral reefs, and each one is different. So each piece can be moved and the design can be changed. So I love silver that I can hide in plain sight. I just love having it on my desk. These pieces have little magnets, so they can come off.
Awesome.
I really like that.
What do you think about that, Mrs. Talking Bullion?
I think that you should plan on getting me something like that.
Have our 25th wedding anniversary. It's a silver anniversary, right?
Silver
Perfect
anniversary.
present, right?
And he's just so creative. Like each of these pieces, he designed a little thread, so they actually screw into the silver base. I have to be very gentle when I change it around, of course. I don't want to break anything, but it's just really cool to look at and to play with. I love silver I can play with, of course.
That thing is just so cool. I mean, that is
just amazing how the balance can be figured out so precisely.
Yes. And if you watch Menehune's video, he actually got good at flipping it. I won't do it because I'll break it, but yeah, it's got some really nice weight to it.
Yeah, that's very creative, very, very awesome stuff. I'm going to be ordering something from him probably sooner than later because he's just such a classic pourer,
Some amazing creative ideas that you don't see anywhere else, or at least I haven't.
Yeah, and he also made this little Kit Kat bar.
That's cool.
And it has my initials, which is really awesome.
Oh.
Yeah, it is awesome.
So, and of course, lots of great pours on this table. And it would take up the rest of the time if I were to sit down and show them all. But if somebody wants a closer look at something, you can tell me in the chat. It's hard for me because my computer's a little bit away from my phone setup. So if I miss a question, I apologize.
Well, Laura Blades in the chat. You want to show off her bar? Her bar is pretty cool.
Of course, one of my favorites. And this was something I bid on for the big lorry auction for his family. I just love it.
Yeah, that's a great bar.
I love how it looks like an old piece of stone or something.
Yeah, that is really cool. Yeah, I'm looking to do a trade with Laura as well. I really, really like her bar a lot, so probably going to be doing something here pretty soon to pick up one of those. And then somebody was asking about the 4 figures you have over there by the globe.
Okay, give me 1 sec.
Be careful.
I had to walk around my couch. So these beauties are Mrs. V's Warriors, and she has a bunch of different sets. And so this is a couple from different sets. So you can get 4 of the samurais or 4 of the other warriors, but this is what I also bid on for the big lorry auction. The detail. Okay, let me take this one. Okay, I'm just going to lay that down.
Wow.
That is amazing.
It is. Very nice detail on that.
Yeah, I just love them. And so does little man.
I bet.
He doesn't really get to play with them. He gets to hold them. But of course, as everybody knows, these are little man's play. And these are from Scully, of course.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to show me those. I really like those too.
They're just so cool.
They really are.
And of course, Scully's TIE Fighter.
Yeah, how can you not like that?
Which is just stunning.
It's amazing to think somebody poured that.
Yeah.
You've got some really nice stuff there, Seduced.
Thank you. I do enjoy it. So I don't buy a lot of poured silver. I would love to have something from everybody, but because of the high premiums, I only allow myself 10% in my budget now for play stuff. The rest has to be either maples or constitutional or gold.
And then can you give me a quick little education on Canadian constitutional? Is yours 80% or is it 90% like ours?
Well, it says 80, but I read and watched videos that said oftentimes they're more around 85, 90, but because it's not consistent, they can't actually label it.
Oh.
No.
But most of what I have is American.
Yeah. That's cool. You got a nice collection of American going there.
I do. I'm starting to purchase more Canadian now that I have a little bit. So I traded Redneck for Canadian pieces. My favorite is I didn't know it was called this, but the Death Dollar.
The Death Dollar? Huh.
Yes.
Wow. So what year did they quit putting silver in the Canadian money?
Oh, you're going to test my memory. I'm really new at constitutional. No, 67? No, I can't remember.
Yeah, probably back in the 60s, about the same time America did.
Yeah, 60 something.
Within a few years.
Yeah.
Cool. So why don't we do one more question about stacking, then we'll do a quick giveaway. So I'm just curious what your family thinks about you stacking. Are they okay with it, or do they think you're losing it, or where are they at on it? Do they get it or not really?
Well, when they've always known I've prepared for just about everything. So my one sister called me Mrs. Apocalypse, even though I don't think that's going to happen tomorrow or at all. It's not a guarantee. I just like knowing that I could take care of myself in an emergency. But surprisingly, nobody said anything. Nobody really knows the amount of silver I have, though. My children and my sisters always get silver now for Christmas or birthdays or anything, and they're starting to really like it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they know how much I have. I've never really told anybody.
Yeah, it's probably better that way, right?
Yeah.
And then somebody, Silver Leprechaun, asked on the chat, why do they call it a death dollar?
I don't know. I actually heard somebody else call it that, probably red. And I haven't had time to do any research.
Okay.
Hopefully it's not cursed.
Okay, so cool. So why don't we, we'll get into some prepping topics here next, but why don't we go ahead and do a quick giveaway. So first giveaway is just going to be some Talking Bullion stickers. Happy to give those out, but I've got a quick question here for you. So chat's a little quiet. Looks pretty good. And then after we get done with this quick little thing, Magnum wants to know who poured the TIE Fighter. But before we get there, let's ask a quick question for some stickers. Seduced recently had a video, and it was a Christmas card that I sent her with a little gift in there. So please tell me, for some stickers, what was the gift that I sent to Seduced? And we need to be specific and exactly what the gift was. So first one to answer, we'll get some coveted, awesome Talking Bullion stickers.
It was a pretty sweet card.
So if you can answer that, you will get some stickers in the mail as long as you send me your address. Anybody know? Anybody watch that video from a day or two ago? Come on, Laura. Oh, shoot, she saw that one too. Barber, half, quarter. Okay, Alex has it. We'll give them $5 for a dime. Probably typing too fast. Yep, it was. That's what we were looking for. The whole thing. Barber, half, quarter, dime. So Alex, you won again. Jeez, kid, you're breaking me. What's going on over there? And thus, Alex, do you already have stickers? If not, I'd be happy to send them to you. But so Crazy Coin, let me see, because we go off of our list that we get here, and I know that sometimes what you see is different, but on our stream, I see that Alex typed it first.
Oh, TB, why don't you send him a sticker too?
I could do that. I could happily do that. So Crazy Coin, if you want to send me your address, I'd be happy to send you some Talking Bullion stickers. All right, so that's good. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for playing along with that. So, Seduced, if you are refreshed a little bit, had a little sip of water while we took a little break there, got a couple more questions for you.
Sure. Someone was asking about the TIE Fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was made by Scully, and he donated it to the Big Lorry auction. And I actually didn't win this. Laura Blade won this and donated it to us, me and Little Man, which was very generous on her part. And I just love this piece. And because Little Man couldn't really play with it without risking breaking off one of its wings, she actually had Scully make the little minions for him, which was super cool.
Very nice.
Every time he sees them, he says, "Thanks, Woa Blade."
Cute.
Yeah.
It's so very nice of Lord Blake to be sending that.
Oh, yeah. All right, sorry, I'm just trying to catch up in the chat here, typing to a couple people. So why don't we move into prepping and talk a little bit about that, because I know, Seduced, you've put out some videos on that, and obviously that's part of what you're doing nowadays. So can you give us your approach to prepping and maybe talk a little bit about what type of events are you prepping for? We know you said you could be preparing for the apocalypse, but you don't really think that's going to happen anytime soon. So what kind of things do you think are more likely to happen? What are you preparing for?
Okay. So I prepare for the whole gamut. I prepare for job loss, illness, death. I make sure I have a lot of life insurance because I am the only one that provides for my family.
Okay.
So I've really focused on when I started it, because it can be really overwhelming. So if some of you out there are thinking about it but haven't started, and you think, no way I could catch up, or there's just too much stuff to buy. I just started as a really young mom, making sure I could survive a week if there was a snowstorm and I couldn't get to the grocery store. And then I extended that to a month. Let's say, something worse happened and I couldn't leave the house. How would I survive? So I just got a little bit of everything in the beginning, and then it didn't feel so overwhelming. And then it just progressed from there. So 3 months, 6 months, year. I always try and make sure I have 6 months emergency money that pay all my bills in case of job loss. Or, I mean, I worked for the government, so if we had a government shutdown and I stopped getting paid, I would need to be able to pay my bills. And I also have cash stored at home, and then I have silver and gold, of course. And then I just try and keep at least a year's supply of food and
Wow.
medicine and seeds and first aid supply. But mostly what I do is I focus on skills, because even if you have a year, if it's something really bad, what are you going to do after that year? So I've been, you know, stocking seeds and skills that are going to help me preserve food and, you know.
Yeah, so I want to interrupt you a little bit. Somebody's asking for Scully's YouTube channel to be posted. Do you know what his? I can search for him if do you know what I'd search for to get his YouTube name.
Scully's Corner.
Scully's Corner. I'll go ahead and post it in the chat.
So you hadn't, or I hadn't seen much out there on your programs that I had watched about the food. But do you do any canning? Because I've gotten a little bit into that, and I was concerned about having that big pressure cooker canner on a glass top stove, but it actually worked out. But have you gotten into the that type of canning, or are you more of the like the more acidic foods where you don't need to go through all that huge process?
Probably 80% of what I can is just hot water canning.
Mm-hmm.
20% would be the other stuff. But I've been canning for years. I actually really enjoy it. People think I'm, but in my young 20s, I wanted to learn how. And so I just started asking anybody I knew who might know how to do it, and just started going to their house. And I just offered to help. And I didn't expect anything in return, but often they would give me some to take home. And so I just started finding out people who are experts, and I just started asking if I could watch.
Wow. That's a great approach, though. I mean, it's like you're being an apprentice.
Exactly.
So in your young 20s, just a couple years ago.
That's right.
Years ago, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's great, Seduced. It looks like you're very well-minded on prepping stuff and stacking stuff. So I believe on one of your videos you talked about bartables, having things to barter with. Can you give us a little bit information on your thoughts on that?
Sure. So bartering is actually one of the skills that I've really been focused on practicing over the last 10 years. So I try and rarely use money for anything. I will barter for things that and so I'll trade my skills for other people's skills, or I'll trade my skills for services or for product. And so whether I'm teaching first aid or giving counseling sessions or teaching canning or even genealogy, a lot of people are open to the idea of bartering. It took me a little bit to get used to it because I always thought they would think I was cheap. But you'd be surprised how many people are really interested in just trading services. Because I think people do struggle with day-to-day living expenses. So it saves money for both parties.
Yeah, that's something that we could probably do more of, trade some of our skills for some bartering. We just haven't really done too much of it, but it certainly makes sense.
We don't even think of doing anything like that. It just is not the regular practice that we see happening every day. So I imagine it really is a skill, because we wouldn't even really know how to start or how to find somebody. But you just started asking people. Would you be interested, and what they would be interested in exchanging, like a service for a product?
Absolutely. And that's why it takes practice, because it takes a while to get out of that comfort zone, because I'm pretty introverted. So the first few times I tried asking people, I just gave up and paid and left. So it took me way out of my zone, but now it comes so naturally to me that I'm not afraid to ask anybody. And it's okay if they say no, because I'll have the ability to pay them. But open to a barter, then I think it benefits both of us.
And I imagine once you start establishing those relationships, then you know that you can go back to that person and have a good probability that they're going to want to barter again. And maybe you're getting a reputation in the community also for bartering. Hey, there's something that, products that you want to stack, or somebody has a need for particular items that you do have in your barter bins there.
Yes. And even if they say no, if a time down the road comes where they need a service, but they might remember that, oh, yeah. I almost said my name there. Oh, yeah, so-and-so.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask her. So I think it's something that would be really beneficial, even through whether it's hyperinflation or a changeover in the money system.
So are you in a smaller community or a larger community where not everybody knows everyone else, or is it more of a smaller community where there's a lot of relationships where people might be chatting about things and the conversation come up that you would be a person to contact?
Yeah, so now at the lake house, I'm in a smaller community, and I'm actually moving this Friday to a little piece of property. So I have to start those relationships all over again. So my goal is to really get to know my neighbors. It is another smaller community, so I don't think it'll take long. But the way you build trust is just by showing up and, being there if people need you, and helping without expecting anything. And then people tend to see you as someone who's part of community and someone who's willing to work hard and help out.
That's a great approach. It really does build community too. A lot of goodwill.
You had talked about, with bartering, that sometimes you'd throw it out there and they don't really, want to do it initially, but maybe come back later. But I kind of do that with coins, and maybe I should expand it, because I have some videos about using OfferUp and Let Go apps to get coins cheap. And a lot of times I'll just reach out to the people and say, hey, are you willing to come down to this price? And they say, no, I'm not willing. I'm not ready. I'm not going to sell at that price. And I kind of just plant the seed, right? Because then when they hang on to it, or 3, 4, or 5 weeks later, nobody's buying at that price, then maybe they'll come back to me and say, hey, are you still interested in buying it off me for that price? You know what I mean? So it's kind of the same philosophy. Put it out there. They say no, maybe they'll remember and come back when they're ready to get to a more reasonable price,
That's right. People have contacted you and followed up, changed their mind.
Seduced, one of the videos I watched that I keep telling people about was the video you did a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, on all the storage containers you had, and I think it was a closet, and how organized you were, and you pulled them down and showed us all the great stuff in there. One of the questions we had about that approach is, how do you track your expiration dates, and how do you know, you said if things start getting older, you donate them, but do you have any good method for knowing how old your toothpaste is, or different things like that?
Yeah, I have a few systems. One is just first in, first out. So I always put new stuff in the back. Those containers of stuff that you guys saw, that's easier because that's the stuff that has to be used now. But if I need to, anytime I buy new stuff in the store, I put it, so I have shelves as well. So I'll put it at the back of the shelf and just use the stuff at the front. But I also have a cool app that tracks all the stuff that I have. So everything from food to barterables, anything you think of, and actually put alerts in. So if I know it's something I'm not going to be using very quickly, then I'll have an alert to say, oh, it's going to be expiring next month. And then I'll either use it up or donate it.
So it's an actual app that you have, and you're entering your products in, like
Yeah.
a data entry. Okay. Because that was one thing. It's like, wow, there's so much to track. How would you keep track of that? And expiration of aspirin or any medical supplies, as well as any consumable foods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just twice a year I really go through everything.
Well, that's good. That's an important part. We do, we've done some food prepping, but I have to tell you, we're pretty terrible about rotating our stock.
We're not good at it.
And
there's no
money, and I hate wasting money.
Well, I do too, and especially food. There's so many hungry people out there. There's really no reason to let your food, get expired and not be able to use it. We have to be more responsible to make sure we reallocate that to somebody who can really use it.
Yes. And on that note, I eat a lot of expired food. It's not going to kill you. I mean, I don't really play around with meat, of course, but it's best before dates. So a lot of the stuff is still good, even if it's expired. I wouldn't donate anything that's expired, but if I find a can and it's even 6 months or a year old, I'll open it up, see if it's good. I've never gotten sick yet, so.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a terrible way to find out that it wasn't good, though.
But TB and I did some volunteer work quite a few years ago now, and we did notice at the shelter that they were allowed to have things 6 months past the best use by date. They were allowed to use that for serving to the folks.
Yes.
So there's really, it's more of the nutritional content, etc., rather than whether the food is bad or not when it's just a few months out.
Yes, like even with canning, the peaches will turn color after a few years, but as long as the seal isn't broken, there's nothing wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
People just don't like it when they're not as colorful.
Well, we're so used to the artificial things that are colored and preserved beyond recognition from the natural foods.
So I don't think we can talk about prepping without talking about, self-defense, firearms, whatever it might be. Do you consider firearms and ammo as part of your prepping?
I absolutely consider it, but this is a big hole in my prepping. So now you know this. I'm not against guns. It's been on my to-do list for a while. I have other ways that I protect myself. Like I have a compound bow that I practice with and use, and I carry things like dog spray, and I have knives and stuff. I just don't have a gun yet. It's definitely something I want, and I want to be really comfortable with. So once I get my license, I have to have time to be practicing a lot.
Yeah, that's something we do. We practice when we got our firearms. We practiced a lot. Went to the range and just want to be really responsible with it and understand its power and be responsible. So in Canada, can you get a license and carry a gun without much issue, or is there a lot of law surrounding it, or is it pretty much accepted there? Or?
Not concealed carry. Like I don't know that. Most people have rifles.
Okay.
People are getting gun licenses for hunting.
Okay. And that really is also part of why someone might want a firearm, because
for hunting,
if they do need to go hunting for food, it's going to be a little easier perhaps than a bow, or well, it depends on how accurate I guess you are. If you're great at that, that would be fine. But not having either would be an issue, much more difficult for someone to actually go hunting.
Yeah.
So then, just kind of curious. Then we've talked a lot about your stacking and your prepping. What other kind of interests or hobbies do you have? What else do you do to kind of fill your time?
What do I like to do? I like so many things. Not enough time in the day. Like I said, I really enjoy the gardening, the preserving food.
Awesome.
I love photography. So I used to do weddings and other things like that, but I started to not love it anymore. So I stopped doing it for money, and now I'm back to just doing it for myself, which is nice. It's brought back the love of it for me. And what else? I just love spending time with family, and
Yeah.
especially with little man and little miss. They just light up my world.
And they're great ages, right?
Yeah, we have grandchildren as well, and you're absolutely right. It's just everything you always heard about, grandparents and how awesome it was. It's just so true. Just can't really understand it until you're there. Just how awesome it really is.
Yes, I always wondered why because if you're not a grandparent, it's so hard to explain, but it's like literally the best thing in the world. I love my kids. Don't get me wrong. I adore them. But there's something about grandkids, and I used to wonder why I enjoyed it so much. And then I said to my daughter one day, I said, it's like a do-over. It's like, this is the kind of awesome parent I would have been without all the stress.
Right. And that's what we found too. I mean, when you're a young parent, you're so stressed about life and work and money and food and getting your bills
Cleaning up
paid
all the time after them, and it's just busy, hectic.
And then when you become a grandparent, you're just more mature. You understand life a lot better. You take things easier, and it's just you can just enjoy it and appreciate it so much more than you could when you were younger and fighting just to get food on the table.
Well, and then you don't have the stress either, where you don't have that everyday rush to, work through the day, get home, get the kids fed, clean the house, all the other things that go along with it. So all that stress is gone, and it's just more of the fun time that you can focus on the grandkids.
Yeah, you get to be the fun one.
Yeah,
that's right. Full push metal says spoil them and send them home.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you for that. So why don't we go ahead and do another GAW here? And
so what are you going to give away this time?
This GAW is sponsored by Stacking and Prepping. They wanted to donate to the stream tonight, even though they couldn't be here. So they want to give away $1 worth of constitutional silver, which is awesome. I'm wondering, am I disqualified from this GAW? I'm just wondering because I'd sure like to have another $1 worth. I'll tell you. So anyway, this time we're going to ask another question, and the first one to answer will win $1 constitutional silver from Stacking and Prepping. And Stacking and Prepping, if you're out there, thank you very much for the contribution. And if you're not with us live tonight, then I'm sure you'll watch it in the replay. So here is the question. You guys ready? All right. What article and section of the Constitution does it talk about using gold and silver for tender of debts? What article and section of the Constitution does it talk about using gold and silver for tender of debts?
Yes, that's why they call it constitutional silver.
Well, that's why they call it constitutional silver.
In the Constitution that there is a type of metal.
Yep, we wanted to make it a little challenging. We're known for asking questions that are a little too easy.
That's right.
That's it. Crazy Coins. Yep, you were the first one on my list. Silver Ripples was right after you. Crazy Coins, you've been asking all night about the GAW, and you won it.
Wow.
Article 1, Section 10 is correct. In fact, I've got a really cool a round from the Constitution Mint that says Article 1, Section 10, and it has that saying on the back, but it's one of my favorites. So on our list, you guys might see it differently, but on our list, it is Crazy Coins that got it. So Crazy Coins, go ahead and send your address to stackingandprepping@gmail.com. and they will make sure that you get your dollar's worth of constitutional silver. Really cool. It was a really fun. I thought it might take a little longer to get an answer. You guys rock. You guys are right on top of it. So
there's so much to learn about just coins and precious metals. It's amazing once you start getting into all of the YouTube videos, and it's
I feel like a newborn when it comes to precious metals. So there's so many things I don't know that I still feel like, am I even really qualified to be buying stuff? But so far I haven't made any terrible mistakes, so keep going.
And even if you make a mistake, then you learn that lesson. So it's not without value to go ahead and take that step. And as you said before, you just go ahead, and if you're consistent, then you're going to end up with a long-term better stacking.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight, Seduced. We really appreciate you spending some time with us. Got to know a lot about you, and tell you I'm pretty impressed. You have a pretty solid mindset there on your thoughts on silver, gold, and prepping. It's really I'm sure you're a blessing to a lot of people that you come across in your life with your approach. You're very knowledgeable and very very easygoing about it too. So.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you having me on. I was going to ask if I can just show one more thing before I'm done.
No, absolutely. That'd be great.
I'm going to, first I want to show you my stand.
Awesome.
Sometimes you just got to make it work. So some people who don't have any extra income don't really think about prepping, but these are things that are made from scraps. So a lot of the candles are just what's left over after I've burned them. Of course, I did a video on the toilet paper and the lint. Mm-hmm. These are just old phone books. So you just boil them down and then press them and then dip them in wax. These are, of course, our face puffs or whatever you want to call them, dipped in wax, and then just the tuna cans or the smaller cans with cardboard and then leftover wax. So all of these things didn't really cost me anything. I think sometimes I buy wax, but I usually only buy it from thrift stores or garage sales for like 25 cents. So really not a lot of investment when you think about money. And also, anybody want some gum?
Sure.
All of my books, and this is just a small bit of, most of my house is packed, but I did find one box with some of my library. I never buy new books. Like, I don't think I ever pay more than 50 cents for a book, but you can have a huge library for next to nothing. And we rely so heavily on YouTube and learning how to do stuff online that sometimes we forget we might need backups.
Right. I like the fact that you have things like the cures and a variety of subjects, because if things were longer term and you couldn't go to the pharmacy to get something, then it's great that there are some alternatives out there. I like to get into the essential oils, using those types of things, and vitamins as a first line of defense for treating different, sicknesses. And a lot of people are not even aware of that. I haven't done it yet, but I think I'd like to maybe find some herbalist around here that can actually teach how to identify even those wild plants that are out in the fields around us that we don't even know that they're available and would actually have some healing properties.
Yes. And to have a book of the native plants to your area, things that you can eat, things that you can use for medicine is ideal.
So, Seduced, Nadia Silver's wants us to ask you what's good for sore, tired ankles.
Epsom salts is great to soak in. I mean, everyone should have Epsom salts. They're good for so many. Just look it up. You know what I love? I love things that have like 50 uses. So whether rubbing alcohol or Epsom salts or anything.
Or even baking soda, right?
Yes.
Because you can use that for cleaning. You can use that for treating an upset stomach and just all kinds of things.
The more uses it has, the more I'll have it in my preps.
Even people don't even think about simple things like white vinegar.
Oh yes, so many uses for vinegar.
Well, thank you for showing us that, Seduced. Yeah, you're very creative, and definitely showing us that it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to be prepared. I think that's what's important, is that maybe some people get discouraged because they think they have to go out and spend a ton of money, and you really don't, to be prepared. So one of the things that we got for Christmas this year was a backpack off of Amazon that came packed with water and food and a starter, a lighter, igniter thing, flashlights, a stove, blankets. It was a great. It wasn't a ton of money. It's one of those grab and goes. It's packed up. It's ready to go. Got to get out of the house, grab it and go. So that's if you can't afford to have years worth of food, at least do something. At least get something started.
Exactly. Start small. Pick up 2 cans of chili instead of 1 when you're at the grocery store.
Or the buy one, get one free deals are great for that.
Yes.
It makes it so much easier because then you're really just fitting it within your budget, that initial purchase, and then you have the extra that you can set back for that storage.
Absolutely. And if you live in the States, I am so envious. I've seen shows on couponers.
Yeah.
They have like 2 buggies full and it costs them 43 cents. We're not allowed to stack coupons in Canada. We get to use 1 and that's it.
Yes. So I think that it takes a lot of time for people to go through and do a lot of the couponing, but
it's worth it.
Some people that
save some money. Use that money for silver, gold.
Exactly.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. So if you've been thinking about it, but sitting on the fence, just do a little bit of research.
And even, like you said earlier, even the trip to the dollar store or thrift store and pick up those extra items. And then when you're traveling and have the extra shampoo and conditioner, those things can come in handy also. And make that part of what's there for an emergency.
Exactly. And when you're at the hotel, just steal that bottle of shampoo and conditioner.
All right. Well, it's a little bit after 10. So we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. We appreciate everybody coming tonight and joining us on the live stream.
Yes, thank you.
It was a great live stream. I think we talked about some really cool stuff. Seduced, you really had some great information for us. We thank you for taking the time to lay it all out and share it with us in a nice, thought-provoking way. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on the stream. We really appreciate it.
Yes,
and
everybody. Sorry I didn't have a chance to watch the chat, but I appreciate everybody that's come and participated. So thank you.
Yeah, I think we were able to catch most of the questions as we went along. We were kind of keeping an eye on it, and sorry if we missed anybody, but It's a great night. We appreciate everybody. We appreciate everybody joining us. Have a great night, everyone. Take care.
Yes, thank you. Good night.
Good night.